There are two areas that, in my opinion, the cruise lines fail cruisers. One of them happened to me. Don't let this stop you from going on your cruise. Hey everybody, what is up? My name is Jordan and this is JJ Cruise. Thank you so much for joining in the video today. There may be one of the most important topics in all of JJ Cruise history that we're going to talk about today, and it's something that is currently being widely debated on Facebook and something that actually happened to me the very first time that I went to Europe. These are a couple of things that can stop your trip in its tracks and cause you to miss your cruise entirely. So if you don't watch any video until the end, today is the video to tune in and watch the entire thing so that this doesn't happen to you. Before we get into it, I do just want to invite you to subscribe to the channel. We are on the road to 75,000 subscribers. Please be a part of the first 75,000 JJ crew by clicking that subscribe button. And don't forget to tell YouTube that you like the video by hitting that thumbs up. There are a lot of things to know when you're planning a vacation, whether it be by cruise travel or air travel, out of your country to a new destination or another country. I think that there's some street smart things that people just automatically know, and then there's some very technical laws and rules that people just aren't talking about enough. When you're leaving the United States, for example, that's where I live, and I'm going over to Europe or even down to Mexico, my passport is the number one thing that always gets packed in my bag. And I think that that's a very common thing that people realize when they leave the country. They need to have a passport with them. What people don't talk about enough is the expiration date on your passport. And unfortunately, this can be a very hard lesson to learn, and it's a lesson that I had to learn on my very first trip to Europe. Several years ago, I was working for a company based in Stockholm, Sweden. And I had to go to Sweden for a business trip, which was not necessarily unusual, but this was my very first time with the company heading over to Stockholm for a work trip. Well, I got my passport, I got everything ready, I went through, got on my plane here in the United States, got to Sweden, went through customs, had absolutely no issues. Spent a week in Sweden, then I went back home to Chicago. As I was leaving the country of Sweden, I got stopped by customs and pulled into a room. And they said, "Your passport is expired." And I said, no, my passport doesn't expire for several more months. I don't know what you're talking about. And they said, "You're not allowed to travel into the country of Sweden if your passport is going to expire within a certain amount of days." Now, for most countries, what I learned then, it's between 90 and 180 days. I had no idea that my dates tipped the scale and went into this as I was there in Sweden. I told them, I said, I had no idea that this was happening. I am just trying to get home. They gave me a very stern talking to and said that I could have incurred a fine in that scenario, but they were going to let me be on my way and go home, and that I would probably have to have a very similar conversation with the border control agents once I landed in Illinois to get off the plane in Chicago. Sure enough, that happened. It was a whole other thing and a whole other additional conversation that I had to have in a separate area as I was coming back through customs because I was traveling within a time frame that I should not have been. The agents checking me in for my flight when I left for the airport should have caught this, but if they did, it would have stopped my trip in its tracks and I would not have been able to fly. You might be sitting at home saying, okay, well, that's a business trip to Sweden. How does this impact me as a cruise traveler? And it impacts you because they treat this the exact same way. It is very, very dangerous to play around with dates whenever your passport falls within a half a year to expiration. You actually should not use that passport at all, and you should be getting a new passport for your travels. For the most part, if you're in North America doing closed loop cruises, out of a United States port, maybe to the Caribbean and back, you can use your birth certificate and a government issued ID in case your passport is within that expiration date. But if it is within 6 months of expiring, it is time to renew your passport now. There was a massive debate in a Facebook group that I'm a part of this week over this very thing. A lot of agents saying this is ridiculous, this shouldn't be a thing, but this isn't a cruise line thing, this is a law. The second thing that I don't think cruise lines or anyone really is talking about in general is visas. Now, it is your responsibility as a traveler when going to another country to know the laws of the places that you're going to and have the correct visas that you need in order to go to X, Y, and Z country. When Jared and I took our Trans-Pacific cruise back in 2022, we needed visas both for New Zealand and Australia, and there was never a word about this said to us from the specific cruise line that we cruised. We had to find this information on our own. We did this because we had never been to these places before, and we didn't know about what exactly we needed to enter the country of New Zealand or Sydney, Australia. Sure enough, we needed to get visas. It was very, very simple. It wasn't very expensive. We got them and it was completely fine. In 2025, we've talked about this quite a bit on this channel. ETIAS is going to pass in Europe. And if you are an American citizen or from North America, you are going to need those visas while traveling in Europe. There's a lot of people that don't live in America that come to America and need visas to come to this country. So it's your responsibility to get those visas correctly figured out before your trip so that you know exactly what you need, have your ducks in a row so that you won't be stopped or turned away once you try to get into your final destination country. For some, this is going to seem like a no-brainer. For others, if the cruise line doesn't tell you, it might not be something that you think about or you realize. So for all intents and purposes today, check your passport expiration and check out what visas you need when entering and exiting different countries around the world. It also gives a good case for using a travel agent because these are the types of questions that you can take to your travel agent and they should have the resources and the means to be able to get you those answers very quickly. Whereas call center agents with the cruise lines might not be able to get you the answers very quick. Don't do what I did and try to get in or out of a country with an expired passport. Be a smart, savvy traveler. Use your resources, do your research, use a travel agent if you don't have one, and know what you need to do before you ever step on your cruise. If you are interested in travel agents, Jared and I are both travel agents. You can visit jjcruise.com and fill out our form there. But I thought that this was an interesting topic, especially because I saw a huge debate about it on Facebook. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Is this stuff that you know? Are these no-brainers? Are you saying, Jordan, duh, of course. I'm a savvy traveler. I know my business. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and thank you so much for watching. Again, we appreciate you hitting that subscribe button, hitting that thumbs up. I'm Jordan. This is JJ Cruise, and until next time, see ya.